Hi, this is Matt with Inmate Search Info. Today we're going to be looking at how to find Vermont inmates. The Vermont Department of Corrections offers a searchable database based on the name of a former or present Vermont inmate. Now I'm starting off on this page just so you can see how this sort of Captcha code system works. It's pretty straightforward. Most people are very familiar with these, but I just wanted to mention that it is case sensitive. So in this case we have capital H, C, and E, and then we have a lowercase b. You want to make sure you put the case sensitive letters in, or else it's not going to let you through. So just wanted to mention that so you don't get frustrated when you hit that first page. Now, one unique thing about the inmate search here in Vermont is that they basically give you a listing of all the recent kind of movements as far as people being placed in a facility or maybe moved to a different facility or a different state under their supervision with the DOC. So you're able to see that chronologically. So if somebody has recently moved or you're not sure maybe where they were placed and that was done recently, you can kind of see the list here. Like I say, that is kind of unique. Haven't seen that in any other state. Might be just because Vermont has a fairly small inmate population. Now, one thing to note when you're doing your search is that you can search by either current inmates, by people who have been released only, or a combination of the two. So that's one plus. A lot of states don't let you search based on historical incarceration. So someone who has kind of completed their time, completed their supervision, is wiped out of there. So in this case, you are able to get kind of a broad net of people that were, in the system previously and are in the system now. Now, one thing I should mention, if you're looking for people who were here historically that have already completed their sentences or their time, I would caution against using this information for any official purpose. And certain types of official purposes are governed by special laws, special types of background checks, things like credit decisions, employment, and decisions regarding housing. So you don't want to use this information incorrectly, even though it is an official Vermont resource. So just be careful how you use it. Consult a legal professional. You don't want to do something you're not supposed to with this info. And it should go without saying, but I'll mention it as well. Don't use this information for any threatening or harassment purpose. That's also a no-go. You don't want to get yourself in trouble. Often, most states have specific laws against using this information for that purpose. It makes it even worse than if you were doing it without this information. So, doubly so, don't use this for any kind of threatening or blackmail or anything along those lines. So in any case, just wanted to get that disclaimer out of the way. So the search here, it is, like I say, name only. One downside is that it does not include aliases as far as I can tell. So Vermont doesn't keep track of AKAs or names that people may have used in different situations. So if you know someone by something other than their legal or given name, you may be in a bit of trouble here. Some states will keep a database of that so that you can search and find someone based on a name you might know them by, but which isn't their actual name or even nicknames. That's not the case for Vermont. So hopefully you have that information, or you might be in a little bit of trouble. So we'll do a quick name search just so you can see how that works, and then we'll talk about that a little bit. So Michael Smith, unfortunately, I do my apologies to all the Michael Smiths out there. I always use Michael Smith. And here are our results. Now, we have quite a list here, obviously, again, because it's historical, and it is sort of in chronological order based on the booking date. So it goes back, per this search, at least back to 1985. And the thing is, though, we aren't given a lot of information about the people. We'll click on in a second to see how that, plays itself out. But you have a first name, last name, and then for some reason, some are initials, some are full middle names, but hopefully you have a middle name, because in some searches, because they do go back quite a ways, you may end up with more than one result. So let's start with one of these historic ones just so you can see, what we get. And there's not much here. So we have Michael, middle name A. I very much doubt it is actually A. I'm sure it's a name there, but they don't have it. And current age is kind of the probably the biggest, maybe most useful information potentially. Race and then sex. So there isn't a lot of descriptive information, to say the least. The current age may be helpful if you know when they were born, or maybe a rough age range. And you do have kind of like this, the information on when they were released. So it could give you kind of a gauge of maybe the severity of the crime, maybe not. but that person was obviously in for quite a while, but they have been discharged, and so there's very limited information on them, except for the fact that they were there at some point. In fact, I don't think, doesn't even tell you where they were exactly, so really not a whole lot. I'm not entirely sure why they bother, to be honest with you, why they go back so far historically. Maybe that's helpful for something, but I'm sure that's something to do with the limitations of the law that's allowed. But in any case, very little to go by there. So if you're looking for this particular Michael Smith, again, a background check is probably going to be your best bet. You can find them based on even an alias, potentially, using a background check, because they make associations that, this kind of search is not going to be able to do. So just something to keep in mind. That's something we can help you with at Inmate Search Info. Let's take a look at somebody who's more current. And as you can see by the fact that this release date is blank, this person is still in the system, very much so. They are under probation and parole, so at least you know that they are under supervision. Because the person does still have an active sentence or active supervision, you are able to see basically what was involved with that, including a case number. So that's a little bit more instructive, certainly. Obviously, it helps that we have a middle name here too. Doesn't hurt. And then because they are under parole, we do have a parole officer, which again, that may be something of interest to you depending on the nature of your interest. And we do have this max release date. So at that point, or whenever it is actually somewhere in this window, when they're no longer under supervision, this will all be wiped out of here. So obviously some of this info is time sensitive. So, like I say, there's not a whole lot to go on here with Vermont. They do keep up the database. You are able to see some stuff, and obviously being able to see that chronological stuff on the first page, may be helpful to you, but there's not a whole lot to go on there. One thing that I did notice that is a little bit of a miss, I think, that you do get on a lot of states is that with these facilities, and even with the probation locations, they don't have a link to take you directly to them. And there's no obvious way of getting to them, of finding them. We do have information on contacting these facilities and their addresses on our page for Vermont. There is also, which we also have a link for on our page, this correctional facility list that they do maintain here. And you're able to see kind of the corresponding policies, the address, and the folks in charge there. Yeah, the visiting hours is kind of a key thing. So that's something that, may be useful to you. There's another thing on their whole. Oh, that's really nice. Theoretically, there should be some kind of information about inmate visits. We will try to find that information and place it on our Vermont site as well. It actually may already be on there. We try to do that for every state. So that kind of sums it up for Vermont. Again, a little bit limited. And if you're looking for someone in Vermont, like I say, you can get some historic information. Obviously, if their name is less common than Michael Smith, you would probably have a little bit of an easier time figuring out who it is. Because, like I say, the population is small, even when they include all the historic information. So, hope that's been helpful. For more tips, step-by-step instructions on what we looked at today, the direct link to this page, as well as other links for other types of offender searches related to Vermont, please visit our link below. Thanks so much for watching.